So good afternoon everyone. My name is Arnel Madraso. I'm the teacher blogger. So this afternoon we are here at this is Mirna's Bakehouse. This is located at San Jose Road, Zamboanga City. So I'm here. The purpose of this vlog is to book review Bloome's Destined to Play. So now in terms of my decision to choose this novel to read, my initial impression was this is really, I thought this was more of a murder suspense type of story. Of course, at a relationship level, I was thinking that, okay, so maybe this is some sort of a love triangle and there's murder involved. But to my surprise, this novel is following the writing style of E.L. James' 50 Shades of Grey. So for those of you who watched the film or read the script of 50 Shades of Grey, you know what I'm talking about. So we're talking about highly descriptive, vivid description of sexual intimacy. So in as much as I want to stop reading this, but I already bought this and then I thought, okay, so maybe let's try to read the storyline and then try to compare the difference of this novel with 50 Shades of Grey, right? So basically, let's start with the gist of the novel. It's a story of a psychologist whose name was Alexandra. So Alexandra Blake was actually the close friend of Dr. Jeremy Quinn. So the story basically revolved around two main characters. So we have Dr. Alexandra Blake and Dr. Jeremy Quinn. So Dr. Alexandra Blake is PhD in psychology, and Dr. Jeremy Quinn is a medical doctor. So what happened was the novel started with the psychologist, Dr. Alex, who started traveling because she was invited to become a lecturer, in places where, universities or even in places where, psychologists are needed for lectures. And so, in her travel, she met an old friend, a close friend, Dr. Jeremy Quinn. And so that's the storyline. It started there, and then there is some sort of a flashback technique that was being used where previous moments with the main characters were flashed in the scenes so that to actually bring about the sexual fantasy. So that is what the novel is all about. So basically the storyline of sexual intimacy and all. But the question is, really, there's a question of morality because Dr. Alex was a married person. So she was married and yet she was playing with fire. And so the storyline was revolving around, whether to engage in sexual intimacy with other person involved in the story. So basically, it's adultery. So reading the novel, it's more of a question of whether it's moral to engage yourself with someone who is married, right? And they're both professionals. But then, knowing the style, attempting to follow the style of 50 Shades of Grey, and so that's captivating the reader's interest in sexual fantasies, sexual intimacy. Well, Destined to Play. In fact, the title is playing with fire. But being a married person, for me, while reading this, it's not only the play that we're talking about. It's really looking at the angle of morality Correct? So, well, there's playful stuff that people would engage in, playing with fire. But again, question of what they're doing is actually immoral. But compare this novel with 50 Shades of Grey. It's not only the sexual intimacy. There's scholarly aspect where Alex was asked to be part of an experiment. In fact, their relationship was not only limited there. There was beyond that, because in fact, there's a research proving that sexual intimacy is actually highly correlated with depression. And so, in the relationship of Dr. Alex and Jeremy, actually, somehow, they were connected by their previous experience, but they're there because they're trying to experiment on something that is higher. And since both of them are scientists, and so they were also experimenting with their pleasures, and yet they would want to find out, go beyond the edge, to go beyond what is the common. And so they really want to experience the extraordinary, especially on the part of Alex, being a psychologist. So if you read the novel, it's really very explicit, very descriptive in terms of sexual fantasies. But then, if you'd ask me if I'd be recommending this to my students, no. Because this is, I think, for mature people. But in terms of storyline, I like the fact that they were able to twist that it's not only based on sexual fantasies, but it's also transcending into realities. For example, there are some people who are depressed right now because of lack of sexual intimacy. And so, in the story, Dr. Alex submitted herself out of curiosity. But of course, there's sexual intimacy involved. There's some sort of a freedom. I think there's some sort of a submission to freedom, wanting to do the beyond the common, beyond the extraordinary. Well, maybe she had been married for quite some time, and that it wasn't really mentioned whether she was happy or not. But looking at her tendencies to be wanting more, in terms of sexual intimacy, we can somehow say that she wasn't happy anymore in her marriage. So what's the end of the story? So she somehow submitted herself to freedom. She said yes to Dr. Jeremy, even if she knows that she was being used as guinea pig for the experiment. In terms of arousal, orgasm, that is actually connected to solving the problem of depression. So both, in terms of playful stuff, they were, sexually intimate beyond the boundaries of marriage, and then that causes a question of morality. But there's also a question of reality, because in terms of reality, we know for a fact that there are some depressed people who are having problems with sexual intimacy. And so, at the end, the psychologist submitted herself. She submitted herself for an experiment, and then she experienced all the blissful stuff that she hadn't experienced before. So she pushed herself out of the box, and then trying to experience the bliss that one can ever imagine. So what happened? So in the end, was there love? There's certain pages here that would prove that somehow there's love between them. Okay, here, page 205, you do know I love you, Alexa. His tone is serious, his voice overwhelming emotion. So there's evidence to show that somehow there's love involved. But, overwhelming evidence showing that somehow the Dr. Jeremy Quinn was just using her for an experiment. But because of their past, perhaps there's some sort of a love involved between them. And at the end, I I think we can say that Alexa divorced, filed for a divorce. Divorced her husband and then opted for another experiment. So that's it. So of course the general theme would be, hey, there's freedom, but there's also a question of morality. So that's it. Bye. See you later.